just before, there's one last really great speaker who was a surprise. I didn't know was coming up. I was telling you at the beginning of the show how our serious involvement with finding medical cannabis for people started with Tony Bower 8.5 years ago when he was coming up here every weekend, and then, you know, you were here and slowly it just became too much and he got locked up and raided and more people wanted. Every time there's an announcement on the TV, you know, that something about cannabis getting more legal, another 50 people ring up the embassy. So I just want to say Mardi Gras is on. There won't be another one of these forums for probably 6 months, I reckon, because Mardi Gras is on at the end of April, 29th and 30th of April and the 1st of May. It's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Friday is Friday afternoon. We've actually got a march to start Mardi Gras, a long march, thinking of wheelchairs, from the hospital in Nimbin to the police station. It's about 70 metres, so we should be able to manage that. And then we've got talks happening all Friday afternoon. That's the 29th of April. People from Colorado, people from Canada. Really interesting to hear what's going on over there. And then Saturday there's talks all again. And you're most welcome. And Nimbin's interesting, and it's interesting to be, you know, that weekend amongst a couple of thousand stoned people. It's an experience. And, you know, to be, there's not many crowds of thousands of criminals you'd want to hang out with, I tell you. But Nimbin's very peaceful. It's a great weekend. Anyway, I just wrapped the Tony Bowers here for the weekend. Tony started all this. You know, I think I told you in the beginning, it was Tony who first came to us and said, I'm stopping these kids with epileptic seizures, stopping seizures, you know? And he's true bush medicine. Worked it out for himself. Anyway, I love you, mate.
Yeah, thanks, Michael. Well, for those of you that don't know me, I'm Tony Bower. I'm the director and owner of Mullaways Medical Cannabis. I make tinctures, different sorts of oils, medicines, we like to call them, I suppose, that help a lot of people. We found that non-psychotropic THC or THCA seems to help with a lot of brain diseases, problems that affect a lot of kids, seizures, things like that. Basically, my medicine's been tested because of the trouble I've been in with the police. That everything I do gets checked out pretty well, you can say. So I have had the ability to get tests done on what is in the medicine, and a lot of it, you know, with research, you know, basically myself, because I've been able to get plants tested too, to find out what's in them plants, so that the actual medicines I've been able to make are more effective, because we know what cannabinoids and that we're after. So I've basically bred them up in different plants, and then basically extracted them out, because a lot of people don't realise, a lot of, if you smoke something and pardon me, makes you hungry, and that's good for things like HIV, where there's degeneration where they can't eat and things like that, where you find them same cannabinoids can be extracted out into a medicine, so that the person basically still gets the same effect. They still get hungry from it, and the other effects without actually getting stoned from the THC. A lot of medicines we know need to be high THC. For cancers, chronic pain, they can be treated under low dose, what I call a low dose THC or THCA, but basically we're finding that it has to be treated with a high THC product. THCA in some ways makes it, if you can get enough of it in the product as you make it, allows your body to accept more THC, so it's a better way of getting THC into your body by having the other cannabinoids with it, which we already know anyway, is the more plant you can get into your body, the better it is, you know. So even making your medicines out of the oil, pardon me, is better than making it out of normal oil. You know, people talk about different sorts of oil that they'll make and use, when in reality the best oil is the one that's in the plant, because that allows it to get into your body better. It contains, so long as you don't heat it too much, you know, you're not going to ruin any product. But the THC itself will dissolve into that much easier. So you don't need the amount of heat, you don't need the amount of time. So because you're not using as much heat all the time, you're actually saving on your product. Because if you start off, say you're going to do an extraction science, well, it doesn't matter how you do it, you will lose 1/3 of it. By the time you've made it, you've lost 1/3. So if you start off with a pound and you say, I've got a pound a day here in your product, no, you only have 2/3, because you've lost 1/3 through the method that you've done it, because you've probably used heat for a real long period of time. A lot of things you've probably used for way too long, you know. A lot of people don't even seal things out, even like when they're making cookies for butter and stuff like that. Whereas if you use a pressure cooker or something and do that under a slower process, you're not allowing as much waste. So even though some people will say, oh, I started off only had a handful of leaf and I made these cookies up and they blew me head off. But it was because they used a pressure cooker, or their method, didn't allow that waste in there. So the actual product at the finish was much better, because they simply didn't waste as much, you know, in the method. So the less heat you can use, or the less you can use of anything in the more of your actual product that you'll end up with at the finish. So hemp seed oil, because you don't need to heat it as much to get it, well, it'll dissolve even leaf. It will dissolve the THCA, which is in leaf. There's no THC in there, that's only on leaf. If you're lucky enough to have leaf that produces it. But there's no actual THC in leaf. It's only THCA. So as you heat that product, they combine, and then you have THC in low amounts, which you eat. And because of your method that you're taking it, you're eating it, it only needs small amounts, but your body doesn't have this rejection in it. So you use it by using less heat in the product, you're getting less wastage at the end, so the product is a lot stronger. It's not only stronger, your hemp seed oil passes through your stomach lining better than any other oil. There is no other oil that will do the same thing, and at the same extent, it'll pass through your skin better than any other oil. So whatever it contains, it's getting through to your system better, and you haven't wasted as much when you've done it, because you've used a lot slower, quicker products, quicker way of doing it. So you're not getting the wastage and you're using lower heats. And if you seal it properly, do the right sorts of things, then you can get down to maybe a 10 or 15% loss instead of a 30% loss in your product, which is heaps better at the end. And you have a better way of delivering it in your system, which doesn't waste. It doesn't allow the same amount of waste, because your body basically can't reject it because of the method you're putting it in there. You know, the way you're doing it makes it much more effective. Other oils and that, they all work fine. I use olive oil bases. For different people, you can use pretty near anything. Some people say coconut oil is good. All the rest of it, what you've got to remember is when you're using coconut oil or olive oil, your method, you're going to use more heat in it because of what's known, because of the way you're doing it, and you ruin any products that are in the oils. So it doesn't matter, you might think you're starting with a really good oil, coconut oil, stuff like that, but your method and your heat that you're using will ruin a lot of them things. Some people will use sound. You've probably heard a few people talk about sound. I don't know whether they did today or not, with coconut oils and oils. sound basically all it's doing is breaking the crystal. It's allowing the oil, the crystal to dissolve into the oil. It's just a way of doing it. Some people say, I've heard a lot of people say actually that by using sound you're keeping a non-psychotropic product. You're not. They've never done tests on it. And by using sound, the time that it's used for causes heat in the oil. And as we all know, whether it's a fast, quick heat or a slow, low heat, both of them will cause THCA to convert into THC. So even by using sound as a way of use, you are actually lifting your THC level up much higher. And you're dropping your THCA, so you're not actually keeping a legal medicine. Sound extracted products, to my knowledge, still illegal. They're not, because of that heat it's caused, makes it, like I say, convert over. So, you know, and like I said, basically you have to remember that a lot of that the THC that you've put in there, THCA, you've converted over. If you're trying to do a CBD product, the same method, the CBD will reduce, so you'll lose CBD through your method. I'm not saying so if you start off with a 2 or 3% CBD, which is about the best you'll get in Australia, unless you know what you're doing. And growing in winter time, if you're going to produce CBDs, it has to be done under cold climates, so it's got to be done in winter, not in summer. You can't, very hard to produce in summer. In Australia, we've had very little results in producing CBDs. In Australia, about 2.4%, I think, is the best we've ever been able to do. But when you're making a medicine out of that, you've got to remember, if you are after CBDs, you're going to lose some of your CBDs. You're going to gain THC. So you're always going to lift your THC level. In any medicine that you're trying to make out of CBD, you're always going to lift your THC unless you use a cold extraction. And then no heat can be applied basically all the way through it. So even through your drying method, if you're using a cold extraction, gas, or things like that, to get gas out of THC is incredibly hard. If anybody's ever tried, they'll find it's really hard to do. So you have to use some kind of heat to get the gas out, unless you put that into some kind of liquid or something to allow the gas to come out. But basically, it's all got to be kept cold as you're doing it. You know, if you heat it anyway again, you increase your THC level and you drop your THCA level. I don't really know what a lot of people want to hear about, so I suppose it'd be better if you just ask me whatever you just wanted to know, and I'll try and answer it the best I can.
Any questions for Tony? Please.
Sorry, Tony, I just want to know anything about juicing.
I can't hear you, sorry.
Juicing?
Could you say that?
Juicing.
Using.
Juice.
Juicing.
She wants to drink from juice?
On juicing. Juicing is a very good method. We know, as I said earlier, that the more of the plant you can get in you, the better. Juicing is a fine method, even just blending it with a bit of mango juice in a blender or something, it's all fine like that. Again, if I was juicing, I'd involve hemp seed oil in it again, because that will mix with any product that you're going to get out of the plant, will help combine it and make it better to get into your body. Yeah. But it is definitely a good method. Yeah.
When you talk about not using heat, can you just use solar to try and get rid of alcohol out of...
It's nearly impossible unless you basically, if you're going to do an extraction with gas, you're better off getting as much gas out as you can through its normal method, letting it evaporate. As it gets less and less, the crystal gets harder, so it doesn't allow the gas to come out. Basically, some of the new systems have a vacuum where you can suck the gas out. Helps a lot, but I think even with them, they have to use a certain amount of heat to make the product itself loose, pliable enough to let the gas out, because it serves pure THC sets like a sheet of ice. It's you put it in your window, and so long as you didn't get a hot day, it'd sit in there fine.
Hey Tony, I was just wondering what your thoughts on the magic butter machine was.
On the what, sorry?
On the magic butter machine?
The butter machine?
Yeah, the magic butter machine.
I wasn't given one, mate, so... no.
Not that I've used it, but it's pretty good.
Yeah, no, I'd imagine they'd be alright. I couldn't see why they wouldn't perform pretty reasonable, I haven't had a look at one. I was up here one day when the bloke was talking about it. I don't usually use butter as a method of doing it, but I couldn't see why it wouldn't be good,
You make tinctures in a bunch of other different, there's a bunch of different methods you can use.
It makes other things,
The magic butter machine uses coconut oil or alcohol, and you push a magic button on the machine, and it'll cook it for you for 6 hours or 8 hours, and then voila, there's your extraction.
Yeah.
It makes a coconut oil or alcohol.
Yeah, I wouldn't imagine why it wouldn't work. Like I say, I haven't actually seen one or seen how it works, but I would imagine it'd be fine.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, do you think cooking up your medicine with hemp oil?
Some products, yes, I do.
Only some?
Yeah.
How would you know which one? If you wanted to get your ounce or a couple of ounces, which would be best used for that oil?
It's taken me about 15 years.
Trial and error.
It is. And again, if you want to see what a lot of people, you can just make a normal base product out of old leaf. Get your oil. You can even use an olive oil because olive oil and hemp seed oil mixed together. There's no problems there. So you can use all your oil, cook all your old leaf up, and then use that as a base product. So when you get ready to mix and things like that, heat your oil back up. But then when you're going to add heads or crystal to your products, because you want to add THCA, because that's the best way of gathering it, don't use your heat. So heat it up. Put your stuff in, turn the heat off. And then that, you're not only going to save a lot through not wasting anything, that's more than enough time to dissolve any crystals and put it into the product without converting too much of it. You can still get a 60% conversion maybe, but you'll keep about 40% of it as THCA. And again, that allows that to get into your body better, so you can boost them. You can get more in where you need it, basically.
Got another question?
Hi Tony. Talking about the heating setup and the gas setup, you're talking about butane gas?
Well, you can use heaps of different gases. Okay. Different gases will give you a different product to finish.
Okay.
So some gases will only extract certain things and leave certain things.
Okay. I've actually seen butane gas extraction. As soon as I see the contaminants that are actually in the butane that are left over. They use a purge of it to purge that out, say for 8 hours on low heat.
Yeah.
But it's still heating, which lowers your CBD, it lifts your THC. Which, if you want to sell CBD, that's not what you want, right?
It depends. I'm not exactly sure on what you were saying there. I missed a few points on that.
Well, using CBD extraction or THC extraction, depending on which plant you use, using butane, you have to purge the butane out
of the, yeah.
Right. Now, using CO2, would you have to do the same process?
I Oh yeah, for sure.
You do?
Yeah, no, still basically, it doesn't matter what gas
Okay.
you use, you still have to get out.
Yeah.
CO2 wouldn't be as big a problem because
Yeah.
of what it is, I would imagine.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
so
good.
CO2 is used a fair bit in extraction methods.
How about ice water?
It gets a bit expensive, I think.
Yeah. How about ice water extraction?
Big one.
Ice water? Ice.
They're all good. They're all good. What people don't forget about with ice water extractions is that some of the THC is water soluble.
Yeah.
So you got to remember that when you use ice and water, you actually lose some of your product.
Yeah.
Again, this is where people don't realise that you might be after something but you lose it in here.
Yeah.
You can boil your water down and regain them and mix it back in. Again, using hemp seed oil, that'll mix back in.
Is that including water soluble THC? Is the CBD water soluble as well?
I think parts of CBDA are water soluble. I'm not sure whether CBD. I've never been into CBDs a lot. I had made medicines years ago, back in the early 2000s, with CBDs, and I found that it confused the issue. So the people, the feedback I was getting, some people were getting benefits, but some people, nobody was happy with it. Where some people, like I said, they got benefits from it. They weren't happy with the medicine. Nobody come back and said, yeah, that was good. I'm not saying they all like it. It sort of, it helped a bit this, it helped a bit that. But when I took CBDs out of the argument altogether, it was an entirely different medicine. Because again, they work on the same receptor. So if it's being clogged up with one thing, then the other thing can't get there.
Okay, I think we're going to wrap that up at the moment. Back to Michael.
Oh, and don't forget the Mardi Gras. I want to see everybody up at the Mardi Gras this year. It'd be good. They can come and see me down at 10.
You're going to come a week early?
Yeah, I'll be here a week early. Normal.
Please tell your friends about Mardi Gras and support it.
Yeah, Tony always comes here a week early before Mardi Gras. It's a good time to catch him. Thanks heaps, Tony. Glad you were here today. He is a genuine pioneer of medical cannabis in Australia. It's been made a great effort.